the fear. The night sky was wide and endless, painted with silver stars. The alien girl moved carefully through the valley, her bare feet making no sound on the cold ground. Her skin was a soft shade of blue, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Her people had always warned her about humans. Never trust them, the elders had said. Humans bring only fire and death. She believed those words. She had seen the ruins left behind by human weapons. Burned forests, fallen villages, scars on a land that would never heal. Since childhood, fear of humans lived inside her heart like a shadow that never left. But tonight, she had wandered too close to the old battlefield. Metal wrecks still lay scattered, giant machines broken and silent. She had come to search for herbs growing among the rocks, something her tribe needed for healing. Her hands carried a small pouch, her eyes searching quickly in the dark. Then she heard it. Footsteps. The sound was heavy, steady, and much too close. She froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Her sharp ears caught the sound again, boots crushing loose stones. She knew at once. This was no creature of the forest. It was a human. Her heart pounded fast. Fear raced through her veins. She remembered the stories. Humans showing no mercy, humans who hunted the weak, humans who laughed while others cried. She pressed her back against the rocky wall, tried to make herself small, invisible. But then a rock shifted under her foot. It slid down the slope with a harsh echo. The footsteps stopped. She dared to look over the edge of the rock wall. That was when she saw him, a human soldier. He stood tall in the moonlight, armored but worn out, as if he had walked through battles and fire. His face was rough, with lines of fatigue, yet his eyes were alive, watchful and alert. He turned his head slowly, scanning the rocks. His gaze moved closer, until she was sure he could see her. Her chest tightened. She wanted to run, but her legs refused to move. She felt trapped, like a bird in a cage. The soldier lifted his weapon slightly, not aiming, but ready. His eyes locked onto hers. The girl's blood turned cold. She imagined the end, quick, brutal. She thought of her tribe, of her mother's smile, of the warnings repeated again and again. She thought she would never see the stars again. But the soldier did not fire. Instead, he spoke. His voice was low, calm, almost gentle. "Don't run," he said. "I won't hurt you." The words echoed strangely in her ears. Was this a trick? A trap to make her lower her guard? She pressed herself tighter against the stone, her breath shaking. The human took a slow step forward. "You're safe," he added, though his hand still held the weapon. She didn't believe him. Her people had told her humans always lied, always killed. She pulled back, preparing to escape, her pouch of herbs slipping from her fingers. It rolled down the rocks and landed between them. The soldier glanced at it, then back at her. His face softened for a moment. He lowered the weapon to his side. "You're just trying to survive," he whispered, more to himself than to her. Her eyes widened. His voice did not carry the sharpness of an enemy. It carried something else. Tiredness. Maybe sorrow. Maybe even kindness. But she could not trust him. With sudden strength, she turned and ran. Her feet hit the stones, her breath racing, her heart beating louder than the sound of her steps. The valley walls narrowed into a steep path, leading toward the cliffs. She hoped to lose him in the shadows. Behind her, she heard his voice again. "Wait, please stop." She didn't stop. She couldn't. The path grew more dangerous as it climbed higher. Loose stones shifted under her feet. One wrong step could send her into the abyss below. But fear gave her speed. She raced upward, desperate to escape the human who followed. Then it happened. The ground beneath her gave way. A sharp crack echoed as the rocks slid out from under her feet. She gasped, her arms flailing as her body pitched forward into open air. For a heartbeat, time froze. The canyon opened beneath her like a black mouth waiting to swallow her whole. She screamed as she fell. Her fingers scraped against stone, but there was nothing to hold. The rushing air roared in her ears, drowning out everything. And then, a strong hand grabbed her wrist. Her fall stopped with a violent jerk. Her body swung above the abyss, her legs dangling helplessly. She looked up in shock. The human soldier was on his knees at the edge, his arms stretched out, his face twisted with effort. He held her tightly, refusing to let go. For a long moment, their eyes met. Her fear burned brighter than ever. She was sure he would release her, let her fall to her death. That was what humans did, wasn't it? But his grip tightened. His jaw clenched. His voice came out as a growl. "Hold on. I won't let you fall." The touch that changed everything. The chamber was still glowing when Daniel stepped closer to the pod again. His breathing was fast, his heart racing in his chest. He had seen many strange things across the stars, but never something like this. A heartbeat that returned after 1,000 years. It felt impossible. Yet the evidence was right before his eyes. The girl's chest rose and fell, faint but steady. Her lips parted slightly, as if she were tasting air for the first time in centuries. A fragile sound escaped her throat, almost like a sigh. Daniel froze, his gloved hand pressing harder against the glass dome. He whispered, as if speaking too loud might shatter the moment. "You're alive." Symbols ran across the pod's surface like streams of fire, glowing with alien light. The machine was awake, responding to her heartbeat. Tiny particles of blue energy floated inside, wrapping her body in a soft glow, like a blanket made of stars. Daniel's eyes widened. He didn't understand the technology, but he felt its purpose. This pod had been designed not just to preserve her, but to wait for someone to bring her back. Why him? Her head moved slightly, silver hair shimmering under the lights. Slowly, her eyelids trembled, and then they opened. Her eyes glowed faintly, a pale blue that seemed to hold galaxies within them. They locked onto Daniel. For a moment, time stopped. He felt as if those eyes were not only seeing him, but also searching through him, reaching into his soul. The girl's lips moved. No sound came at first, only silence. Then, like an echo breaking through the air, a single word formed. "Human." Daniel's breath caught. She had spoken. Her voice was soft, broken, like the memory of a song. Yet it carried weight, as if she had spoken to humans long ago, in another time. She blinked slowly, struggling to focus, as if the world around her was too bright, too new. Daniel leaned closer. "Do you understand me? Can you hear me?" The girl tilted her head slightly. Her gaze was sharp but filled with confusion. She placed her hand against the inside of the glass, her fingers almost touching his through the barrier. A strange warmth passed through him, even though the glass was cold. For a second, he felt her emotions, loneliness, pain, and something deeper, something ancient. She whispered again, her voice trembling. "I waited." Daniel felt his chest tighten. Waited? For what? For who? He wanted to ask, but the pod began to hum louder, shaking the chamber. Sparks of light ran across the walls, igniting the old carvings once more. The girl winced, closing her eyes. The glow around her body pulsed rapidly, almost unstable. Daniel panicked. "No, stay with me. Don't go back." The pod responded to his voice. Its energy settled, calming like a storm, fading into silence. Daniel's hand pressed against the glass again, steadying himself. He realized the truth. The pod was connected to him. His presence, his touch, his voice, it mattered. Somehow, he had become part of the system that was bringing her back. Her eyes opened again, softer this time. Her breathing grew stronger, more natural. She looked at him, and a faint smile touched her lips, though sadness still lingered. "You woke me," she said. Daniel swallowed hard. "Yes, but I don't know how. I don't even know who you are." Her smile faded, replaced by a distant shadow in her gaze. She whispered a name, but it was not a human name. It was alien, a word filled with power, history, and sorrow. Daniel could not understand it fully, yet it rang in his ears like a song he was meant to hear. The ground beneath them shook. A deep rumble echoed through the ruins, dust falling from the ceiling. Daniel looked around in alarm. Something was happening. The pod's awakening had triggered a response, something hidden in the ancient structure. The girl's eyes darkened. "They will come." "Who?" Daniel asked quickly. Her hand pressed harder against the glass. Her voice was firm now, stronger than before. "The ones who destroyed my world." They will know I live. They will not let me breathe again. Daniel's blood ran cold. He didn't understand everything, but he knew one thing for certain. Her awakening was not just a miracle. It was a signal, and now others would come. The chamber lights flickered, alarms echoing in Daniel's helmet. His instincts screamed at him to move, to get her out of here before it was too late. He placed both hands on the pod. "I won't leave you," he said firmly. "Not now." Her eyes softened at his words. For the first time, her expression was not only filled with sorrow, but with a spark of hope. As the chamber shook harder, Daniel prepared himself. The girl had been asleep for 1,000 years. His touch had brought her back, but her awakening had also awakened something else. Something dangerous. Memories of a lost world. The ruins trembled as if they were alive, shaking with the force of an ancient memory. Daniel steadied himself, both hands pressed against the pod, refusing to let go. The girl's eyes, pale and glowing, stayed locked on him even as dust rained down from the ceiling. Her voice was fragile but firm. "You should not have come here, human. This place, it remembers." Daniel's chest tightened. He had felt many things during his travels: fear, wonder, loneliness, but never the strange weight he felt now. This girl was not just a survivor. She was a living key to a past no one remembered. The pod hissed softly, releasing mist. Its seals began to loosen. Daniel's heart pounded as the transparent dome slowly lifted. For the first time, the barrier between them was gone. Cold air rushed out, but beneath it came warmth, the warmth of life. The girl sat up, weak at first, her silver hair cascading down her shoulders like liquid light. She breathed deeply, trembling, as if learning to exist again. Her eyes swept across the chamber, filled with sorrow. Then she turned back to Daniel. "I dreamed for 1,000 years," she whispered. "I dreamed of fire, of screams, of the sky breaking apart. My people were many, now only I remain." Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted to comfort her, but words felt too small. Still, he spoke. "You're not alone anymore." She studied him carefully, her expression unreadable. "Humans. I remember them. Not as enemies, not as friends, but as wanderers, like children, reaching for the stars. Your kind was still young when I was taken by sleep." Daniel frowned. "Then you knew of us? Before all this?" Her gaze drifted to the glowing carvings on the wall. "We knew. We watched. We wondered if your kind would burn like we burned. Our work consumed us. We believed ourselves eternal, but eternity is fragile." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. She wasn't just speaking of her people. She was warning him. The chamber's carvings shifted, glowing brighter, showing images like moving shadows. Daniel watched as scenes unfolded. A race of tall, luminous beings, her people, soaring through cities of light. Then came fire. Dark ships filled the sky, raining destruction. Her people fought, but their enemies were endless. In the final image, a circle of survivors placed her inside the pod, their hands glowing with energy, sealing her away. Daniel's fists clenched. He understood now. She wasn't only sleeping. She was chosen, preserved as the last ember of her people. She looked at him again, sadness heavy in her voice. "I should have never awakened. My heart was meant to stop with them." Daniel stepped closer, his voice strong. "No, you were meant to wake. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Somehow, this chamber waited for me, waited for my touch. That means something." Her eyes searched his face, uncertain. Hope and doubt battled within her. For a moment, she almost looked like she wanted to believe him. But then her expression hardened. "You do not understand," she said softly. "When my heart beats again, they will come. The ones who ended us. They will feel it. They will not allow me to live." Daniel straightened, his jaw set. "Then let them come." The words echoed in the chamber, bold and fearless. The girl blinked, surprised. For centuries, she had known only silence, only despair. Now a single human stood before her, daring to challenge the shadows of her past. She tilted her head, a faint smile ghosting across her lips. "You speak as if you could fight them alone." Daniel shrugged lightly, though his eyes were serious. "I'm human. We don't always win, but we never stop trying. And I don't leave people behind. Her expression softened. She studied him in silence, as if weighing his words against 1,000 years of sorrow. Finally, she placed her hand gently on his chest. Her touch was warm, trembling, but real. "Your courage, it feels strange to me," she whispered, "like fire that refuses to die." Daniel covered her hand with his own. "Then let's make sure your fire doesn't go out again." Before she could answer, the ruins groaned, deep and angry. The floor shook violently, cracks spreading across the walls. Daniel pulled her close, steadying her weak body. The girl looked around in alarm. "They know," she said in a hushed voice. "They already know I have returned." Daniel gritted his teeth, holding her steady. His mind raced with questions, but one thing was clear. She carried the memories of a lost world. And now, her survival had awakened something dangerous, something that would hunt them both. And yet, despite the fear, Daniel felt no regret. Because in her eyes, even in sorrow, he saw something worth protecting, something worth fighting for. The enemy returns. The chamber shook again, stronger this time, as if the entire ruin had woken from a long sleep. Daniel pulled the girl close, steadying her weak form. Her silver hair shimmered in the flickering blue glow of the pod. Her eyes widened with fear, but beneath the fear was recognition. She knew exactly what was coming. "They felt me," she whispered. Her voice was soft, but heavy with dread. "Across the dark, they felt my heart return. They will come for me, and for you." Daniel tightened his grip. He had faced storms, pirates, even the endless void of space, but never something that could sense a heartbeat from 1,000 years away. Still, his voice was calm. "Then we don't stay here." The girl tried to stand, her legs trembling. Daniel quickly slid his arm under her shoulder, helping her walk. They moved toward the exit tunnel, but the walls pulsed with new light. Alien symbols glowed bright red, warnings carved into the structure by hands long dead. The air grew hot, heavy with static. Suddenly, a sound pierced the silence, a low hum, mechanical yet alive. Daniel's eyes darted upward. From the cracks in the ceiling, metallic shapes began to crawl out. Drones. Their bodies were dark, insect-like, with sharp legs and glowing red eyes. Their movements were unnatural, twitching as if they were both machines and predators. The girl's face paled. "Hunters," she said with a shiver. "They never stopped searching." Daniel drew his pulse sidearm, a compact weapon strapped to his suit. He aimed at the nearest drone. "Stay behind me." The first drone screeched, leaping from a wall. Daniel fired. Blue light shot through its core, tearing it apart in sparks. The body clattered to the floor, twitching before going still. But more came. 10, 20, crawling from every surface, surrounding them like wolves. Their red eyes glowed brighter as they closed in. The girl raised her trembling hand, her fingers glowing faintly with alien light. A soft wave of energy rippled out from her, making some drones pause. But her strength faltered, her body still weak from centuries of sleep. She gasped, falling against Daniel. He caught her. "Save your strength," he said firmly. "I've got this." Daniel's weapon fired again and again, each shot echoing in the chamber. Sparks rained down as drones fell, but for every one destroyed, 2 more emerged. Their screeches filled the air, a chorus of machines that refused to die. One lunged at Daniel from behind. The girl cried out, lifting her hand instinctively. A burst of pale blue light shot from her palm, striking the drone midair. It shattered, crashing in pieces around them. Daniel looked at her in surprise. "You can fight." She shook her head weakly. "Not enough, not yet." The chamber groaned as more drones poured in, their red eyes like blood in the dark. Daniel knew they couldn't fight forever. He glanced at the corridor behind them. The way out was still open, but shrinking fast as drones swarmed. He grabbed the girl's hand. "Run!" Together they sprinted through the ancient tunnel, Daniel blasting drones as they chased. Sparks lit the path behind them, shadows dancing along the walls. The girl's breath was ragged, her steps unsteady, but she refused to let go of his hand. At last they reached the outer hall, where Daniel had first entered the ruins. The ceiling cracked above, sending massive slabs of stone crashing down. Dust clouded the air. The drones hissed, climbing over the rubble like a relentless tide. Daniel pulled the girl toward the exit hatch where his ship waited. "We make it to the ship, and we're safe," he shouted over the chaos. But the girl's eyes were fixed behind them, filled with terror. Daniel turned, his chest tightened. Through the falling dust, a larger shape emerged. Not a drone, something worse. It was tall, armored, its body glowing with the same red energy that filled the drones. A hunter lord, its head twisted unnaturally, its voice echoing like broken glass. The last one, awakened. Daniel raised his weapon, but his hand trembled. This was no machine. This was a commander. A predator that had once led armies to wipe out her people. Its presence filled the ruin with a weight heavier than stone. The girl clutched Daniel's arm, her voice breaking. "We cannot fight it now. Please, we must escape." Daniel nodded. Fear clawed at him, but he refused to let it show. He tightened his hold on her hand. "Then we run, and when we're ready, we make sure it never hunts again." Together, they rushed for the exit, the echo of the hunter lord's voice chasing them into the night. Flight across the stars. The night sky above the ruins was alive with fire. Daniel half dragged, half supported the girl through the crumbling passage, every step echoing with the sound of approaching hunters. Behind them, the hunter lord's voice carried through the stone like thunder. "She belongs to us." Daniel gritted his teeth. Not anymore. At last, they stumbled out into the open, the cold wind of the dead planet biting against his faceplate. Above them, stars stretched endless and bright, but the ground was shaking with the march of machines. His ship, a small but sturdy freighter named Aurora, stood waiting on the plateau, its lights blinking like a beacon of hope. The girl's legs weakened. Daniel lifted her in his arms without hesitation and sprinted across the broken ground. Drones spilled from the ruins, red eyes glowing in the dark. Laser fire cut through the air, exploding dirt around them. Daniel zigzagged, heart pounding, until the Aurora's ramp lowered with a mechanical hiss. "Almost there," he shouted. He ran up the ramp just as the first drone launched. The hatch sealed shut, locking them inside. The ship trembled as Daniel dropped the girl gently onto his seat and bolted toward the cockpit. The girl's voice followed him, weak but urgent. "They will not stop. You must take us far, far from here." Daniel strapped into the pilot's chair, fingers flying over the controls. "Hold on." The Aurora's engines roared to life, sending dust and fire across the plateau. The ship lifted, its thrusters burning bright as it clawed its way into the sky. Through the cockpit glass, Daniel saw dozens of drones swarming upward, wings unfolding like metal vultures. The girl appeared behind him, leaning weakly against the doorway. Her silver hair glowed faintly in the ship's lights. Daniel glanced at her. "Strap in," but her eyes were fixed on the stars outside. "They are already here." Daniel's stomach dropped. He followed her gaze. Out of the darkness of space, shapes emerged, ships, sharp and angular, glowing red with the same energy as the Hunter Lord. They were smaller than battleships, but faster, built for pursuit. Their weapons crackled with deadly light. Daniel muttered, "Great, a welcoming party." The enemy ships dove toward the Aurora, firing beams of scarlet energy. Daniel jerked the controls, rolling the freighter hard to the side. The blasts missed, exploding in the black void. His ship shook under the force of the maneuver. The girl gripped the chair beside him. "Your vessel? It is small." Daniel smirked, though sweat trickled down his face. "Small means faster. Let's hope faster means alive." The Aurora shot between the ruins of an asteroid belt that circled the planet. Daniel weaved through tumbling rocks, enemy ships hot on his tail. Lasers streaked past, lighting the asteroid shadows in deadly flashes. The girl gasped as a blast clipped the ship, shaking it violently. Warning alarms blared. Daniel's hands tightened on the controls. "Don't worry. She's tougher than she looks." The girl looked at him, surprise in her glowing eyes. "You speak of your ship like it is alive." Daniel grinned faintly. "After everything we've been through, she might as well be." Another explosion rocked the Aurora. Enemy ships darted closer, their formation tightening like wolves cornering prey. Daniel's options were running out, and the girl placed her trembling hand on the console. Her pale fingers glowed faintly, sending ripples of light across the ship's systems. The alarms quieted, the engines surged stronger, and the Aurora leapt forward with a speed Daniel had never felt before. He stared at her in shock. "What did you just do?" She closed her eyes, breathing heavily. "Your vessel listens. I gave it a little of my strength." The Aurora blazed through the asteroid belt, leaving the hunters behind in a storm of dust and stone. For a moment, silence filled the cockpit, broken only by Daniel's heavy breathing. But the girl's warning came softly. This was only the beginning. The hunters will not stop. They never stop. Daniel leaned back in his seat, glancing at her. "Then we'll make them regret chasing us." Her eyes lingered on him, curious and searching. She had slept for 1,000 years, expecting only death. Yet here she was, alive again, flying through the stars with a human who refused to give up. For the first time in centuries, she felt something stir within her chest, something more than fear. Hope. Heartbeat of hope. The Aurora drifted through the silent stretch of space, far beyond the ruined planet. Stars gleamed outside the viewport, cold and distant. But inside the ship there was warmth, the steady hum of engines, and the fragile sound of a breath that had not existed for 1,000 years. Daniel leaned back in the pilot's chair, his pulse finally slowing. His ship bore scars from the chase, burned plating, cracked systems, and alarms that had only just gone quiet. Yet the Aurora was alive, and so was she. The girl sat across from him, wrapped in a blanket he had pulled from storage. Her silver hair glowed faintly in the ship's dim lights, her pale skin carrying a softness that contrasted with the strength hidden in her eyes. She studied the stars in silence, as if searching for pieces of her lost world. Daniel broke the silence. "You saved us back there. Whatever you did, it gave this ship more speed than she's ever had." She looked at him, her voice calm but distant. "Your vessel is simple, but alive in its own way. It listens. I gave a heartbeat, only for a moment. It cost me strength." Daniel frowned. "You're still weak. You need rest." Her lips curved slightly, almost into a smile. "I rested for 1,000 years. I think I have slept enough." Daniel chuckled softly, then leaned forward. "Then tell me, who are they? The ones chasing us?" Her expression darkened. She lowered her gaze. "The hunters. They were once like shadows, feeding on light. My people fought them for centuries. We believed we were eternal, until they showed us how fragile eternity is. They do not forgive. They do not forget. And now, they know I am alive." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then we'll fight them. Together." She tilted her head, studying him with curiosity. "You are only human. Your kind was young when I was sealed away. You cannot imagine what the hunters are." Daniel's voice was steady. "Maybe not, but humans don't need to imagine. We fight with what we have, and we don't give up, not when someone needs us." Her eyes softened at his words. For so long she had carried only despair, convinced her survival was meaningless. Yet this human, with no reason to help her, spoke with the certainty of a warrior who had nothing but courage to give. She placed a hand gently over her chest. "When I woke, I felt emptiness. I thought my heart should not beat again. But when you touched the pod, something changed. My strength is not only mine, it echoes with yours. Your courage, it awakened me." Daniel blinked, taken aback. "You mean my touch brought you back?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, my body carried the spark of life, but it needed more. Something pure, something unyielding. Your will became the fire that lit my heart." For a moment, silence filled the cockpit. Daniel swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words. He had only acted on instinct, refusing to let her fade. Now he realized that decision had tied their fates together. Before he could answer, alarms blared across the console. Red symbols flashed on the screen. Daniel's heart sank. "They found us." The girl stood, gripping the seat for balance. Her glowing eyes narrowed. "They will not stop until I am taken. But I am not helpless anymore." Her hands glowed brighter, energy flowing like streams of light. The Aurora's systems responded instantly, the engines roaring louder, the hull shimmering with protective energy. Daniel's eyes widened. She was not just alive, she was power. She turned to him, her voice steady and fierce. You gave me your courage. Now I give you my strength. Together, we can face them. Outside, the stars shifted as enemy ships appeared, red and merciless, closing in fast. Daniel tightened his grip on the controls. Then let's show them what happens when a human and the last of your kind stand together. The girl's hand rested over his, her touch steady. Their eyes met. For the first time, she no longer looked like a relic of a dead world. She looked like hope. And as the hunters closed in, Daniel felt no fear. Because her heartbeat was no longer just hers, it was theirs. A new dawn. The void of space burned red. Dozens of hunter ships surrounded the Aurora, their jagged hulls glowing with cruel light. They moved like predators, circling prey that had nowhere left to run. Inside the cockpit, alarms screamed, but Daniel's focus was razor sharp. His hands gripped the controls, steady and unshaken. Beside him, the girl stood tall despite her weakness. Her silver hair shimmered like fire against the glow of the consoles, her eyes fierce and unyielding. The hunters had come for her, but this time, she was not alone. The Hunter Lord's voice echoed through the comms, harsh and metallic. The last of your kind, surrender. Your heart does not belong to you. The girl's expression hardened. My heart was silent for 1,000 years. It beats now, and it will never be yours. Daniel smirked. Guess you've got your answer. He tightened his grip on the flight stick. Let's end this. The enemy ships unleashed a storm of fire. Red beams tore through the darkness, racing toward the Aurora. Daniel jerked the controls, weaving the freighter through the barrage. Explosions flared around them, shaking the hull. The girl placed her hand over the console. Energy surged through the ship, forming a shimmering shield of pale blue light. Beams struck the barrier, scattering like sparks on water. Daniel's eyes widened. That's new. She gave a faint smile. Your courage strengthens me. Together, we are more than they fear. Daniel rolled the Aurora, blasting through a cluster of drones. His weapons lit up the void, shredding metal predators into debris. But for every one destroyed, more took their place. The hunters pressed closer, like a net tightening around them. The Hunter Lord's massive vessel loomed ahead, its crimson core glowing like a black sun. Weapons charged, aiming to end the fight in a single strike. The girl's voice trembled but held steady resolve. That ship, it carries the core that destroyed my world. If it fires again, we will not survive. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then we take the shot before they do. The girl stepped closer, placing both hands on the console. Her body glowed brighter, her heartbeat echoing through the ship's systems. The Aurora responded, engines roaring like thunder. The cockpit lights pulsed with her rhythm, fusing man, woman, and machine into one. Daniel felt her presence beside him, not just her voice, but her thoughts, her will. For a moment, they moved as one, his hands on the controls, her energy coursing through the ship. Human instinct and alien power perfectly combined. The Aurora blazed forward, cutting through the swarm. Enemy fire slammed against the shield, but the girl poured her strength into it, refusing to let it break. Daniel pushed the engines beyond their limits, weaving through chaos. The hunters shrieked, scattering, but too late. They were already upon the Hunter Lord's ship. The massive cannon at its core began to glow, charging with destructive energy. The girl gasped, sweat on her pale skin. I can hold the shield, but only once. After that, I will fall. Daniel looked at her, determination in his eyes. Then you won't do it alone. He redirected all power to the Aurora's weapons. When I fire, you push everything you got into it. Heart to heart, we do this together. Her glowing eyes locked onto his. For a second, silence filled the cockpit. Then she nodded. Together, the Hunter Lord's cannon unleashed its fury. A river of crimson death surged toward them. Daniel shouted, now. The girl screamed, her hands glowing like stars. Her power flooded the Aurora, merging with the freighter systems. Daniel pulled the trigger, and the ship unleashed a torrent of blue-white light, brighter than the stars themselves. The two beams collided in the void. For a heartbeat, it seemed the universe itself held its breath. Then the blue-white energy consumed the crimson wave, tearing through it like fire through paper. The Hunter Lord's ship shuddered. Its core cracked, glowing brighter and brighter until it exploded in a storm of light. The shock wave rippled through space, scattering the remaining hunters like dust in the wind. Silence followed. The Aurora drifted among the wreckage, battered but alive. Inside the cockpit, Daniel gasped for air, his hands trembling from the effort. He turned to the girl. She slumped weakly against the console, her glow fading. Daniel caught her, holding her close. "Stay with me." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "I am here because of you." She placed her hand over his chest, feeling his heartbeat. "You gave me back my heart. Now it belongs to us both." Daniel's chest tightened, his throat thick. He held her close as the stars shone beyond the glass. For the first time in 1,000 years, she was not alone. And for the first time in his life, Daniel felt he had found something worth more than any treasure among the stars. A new dawn had begun, not for one world, but for two souls bound together by courage, hope, and a heartbeat that refused to die.